They've got a couple of guys nicked up.
I think Waddle's not going to go. Mostert has not practiced at all this week.
The Bills have the edge in the Dolphin offensive line against the Bills defensive line.
It's doing more. It's getting extra reps. Me, Josh, Steph, we were out here practicing on deeper balls. We were practicing on some shorter balls, some routes that we normally run to work on ball placement and chemistry. And, you just got to put in that extra time. So we're taking our next step in is doing more.
Buffalo Bills have a list of ways to beat the Miami Dolphins in Week 18.
The nature of their pass game is such that the burden is not placed as much on their O-line might be for some other pass game. Because when they're clicking, Tua hits his back foot, the ball gets out. I'm almost certain his snap to throw is the quickest in the NFL. They can play with theoretically less than quality offensive line.
When you listen to Greg Cosell say that Tua has the fastest snap to throw ball in the NFL right now, proves that Tua is a timing and rhythm passer. Well, Sean McDermott and the Buffalo Bills player skill sets on this defensive line have proved that we could dominate against timing and rhythm throwers. For example, AJ Epinesa with the batted ball in the air, an interception on Patrick Mahomes, ultimately ends up getting hurt here with the ribs, but it just shows you what timing and rhythm throwers have to deal with. Our players getting their hands up into the air and batting the ball. AJ Epinesa has done this on Patrick Mahomes. Greg Rousseau has done this on Patrick Mahomes. And we all know Patrick Mahomes is a much better quarterback than Tua. And here's another one by AJ Epinesa, a pick six on Sam Howell. Now this one wasn't so much timing and rhythm, but it just goes to show you the skill set of getting their hands up in the air, being able to pick the ball off, or a tip drill. And in week 2 versus the Raiders and Jimmy Garoppolo, AJ Epinesa does it again, getting his hands up in the air, and we all know Tua is a much shorter quarterback. Understanding that Tua and Mike McDaniel's offense of the Miami Dolphins really relies on timing and rhythm throws, well, we have a guy like AJ Epinesa. Greg Rousseau has done it. Leonard Floyd has tipped balls up in the air this season too.
There's still going to be long yardage situations in the game, and that's where I think the Bills' defensive line really has to show the advantage.
Schematically, Sean McDermott knows what to do. We have the player personnel to defeat it.
You made a great point about the simulated pressures. I mean, this past week was just an example. It's what the Bills are doing schematically. Multiple rush concepts, of them featured 4-man pressures, and they were not all 4-man D-line pressures. They were what you call simulated pressures. 1 or 2 of those 4 is either a linebacker, a defensive back.
Sean McDermott knows how to take away the first read for Mike McDaniels and Tua, and he forces Tua to hold on to the ball. Or even if that doesn't happen, we have the player personnel on this team and skill sets with the height on this defensive line to get our hands up in the air, tip ball, intercept it. We all saw Ed Oliver off a tip ball last week, pick it off with one hand.
And let's keep in mind, too, that Jones, 92, is now back, Daquan Jones, and he may have had the best game of his career week 4 against the Dolphins, and he's back, and I thought he looked pretty good on tape this week. He's back, and I think that's a big deal for the Bills.
And then speaking of the interior, with Daquan Jones coming back, Linval Joseph, Ed Oliver, Tim Settle, Poona Ford, they are going to be going against a backup center for the Miami Dolphins.
Knowing they're going against a backup center in Liam Eichenberg, who didn't play center until this season.
And I think when you're playing against a center who does not have a lot of experience, and then it becomes a mental part as well as a physical part, I think there's an advantage there.
Being able to collapse the pocket from within could very well force Tua to escape the pocket from the outside, falling right into the hands of guys on the outside. As I already mentioned, AJ Epinesa, Greg Rousseau, Leonard Floyd, Von Miller, Kingsley Jonathan. Greg Cosell goes on to say this backup center struggles because of his inexperience. Going against TT stunts.
The Bills' defense they've been really effective with what we call TT stunts, tackle stunts.
Or a confusing defense, all of which that the Buffalo Bills have here with Sean McDermott. The stunning, the blitzing, coming with different disguises pre-snap, creating confusion is going to rattle Tua, and he's not going to necessarily have confidence in his offensive line in front of him. Listening to Greg Cosell say how confusing this Buffalo Bills defense is with their pass rush, and it's not always just the 4 defensive linemen, the stunning, the blitzing, a little bit of everything. Sean McDermott is going to serve the Miami Dolphins a full deck. We're sending corners on blitzes, whether it's Taron Johnson, Rasul Will Douglas, even Christian Benford. Sean McDermott's aggression in 2023 and his blitz packages has been absolutely insane.
Player I really think is so critical in this game and has had a sensational year is Terrell Bernard. He's played at a really high level, and I think we see every week when you look at the Dolphins pass game, because it's so timing and rhythmic based, those underneath defenders are absolutely critical.
Greg Cosell goes on to say timing and rhythm based, and one crucial player for the Bills is Terrell Bernard, who currently is the second best statistic linebacker in the NFL. Tua's looking underneath majority of the time because it is a timing and rhythm pass. He doesn't like holding onto the ball, extending the play. It doesn't allow his receivers to necessarily run deep down the field. Therefore, he's getting the ball and getting it out quickly, and means that they're going to be looking a lot more underneath. So we need a player like Terrell Bernard who offers so much more speed, agility, and quickness than Tremaine Edmonds, and has been balling out for Bills Mafia. Playing Terrell Bernard week 4 in Miami, he's clearly gotten the experience throughout 2023 and will be the best version of himself this week in week 18. And going back to the simulated pressures by Sean McDermott that has been developed throughout 2023, Greg Cosell goes on and admits that we really weren't doing that week 4 versus the Miami Dolphins.
In that game, which was week 4, Bills essentially just had a 4-man D-line pass rush. Weren't doing much with the simulated pressures at that point.
It was a very vanilla pass rush with just our front 4. But as the season has progressed, Sean McDermott has clearly opened up the playbook, opened up the secrets, and is going to unleash against these Miami Dolphins. And it's not just the simulated pressures, it's this big nickel that we saw a little bit later in the year. It's this dime package with Cam Lewis getting in there and Taylor Rapp. Sean McDermott has adjusted schematically throughout 2023 and is going to offer so much more in Week 18 versus Week 4.
Imagine it will be Eli Apple playing on the outside and not Kohu, because we all remember Week 4 what happened with Kohu. He just couldn't cover Stefon Diggs at all.
Let's not forget about the Miami Dolphins injuries. In my previous video, I can link it above, but all the injuries ultimately really hurting the Dolphins here, between Jalen Waddle dealing with a high ankle sprain, even Tyreek Hill battling, walking wounded here, even with his house catching on fire and was seen in a walking boot. Raheem Mostert is banged up. Jalen Phillips placed on IR. Bradley Chubb tearing his ACL. Jerome Baker was placed on IR and could come back, but he hasn't seen the field in many weeks. What conditioning is he going to be in for this game? Even Xavier Howard is out. In my previous video, we discussed that Stefon Diggs versus Kader Kohu had 2 touchdowns in week 4 for over 101 yards. And I know a lot of people are worrying about Josh Allen's shoulder, his opposite throwing arm, as well as the finger, which we discussed in my live stream. We saw it when Josh Allen's finger hit the helmet. But per Gabe Davis and Stefon Diggs, they've been working extra in practice this week after practice. So Josh Allen has been putting in extra time with Gabe Davis, with Stefon Diggs, and other receivers this week. So in my mind, that means 2 things. How much is the finger really bothering Josh Allen? And it adds to the list of reasons why the Buffalo Bills are going to squish the fish. Extra preparation, spending a little bit more time this week, knowing that our season could be over with if we don't pull out the W. Our backs are up against the wall.
There's a little added pressure. I feel like that's when we really play our best.
Even hearing Gabe Davis say when there's added pressure, that's when they play their best, as well as having a balanced offense here with our running attack and passing attack, we could really win any way.
We got to establish a run game. You got to be a 2-dimensional offense. You got to be pass and run. You got to be able to a double threat, and that's what we want, and that's what we have.
Going against Vic Fangio and this defense, we ultimately don't know what Vic Fangio is going to do. If he's going to call a lot of blitz because of the losses of Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb to have that pressure on Josh Allen, but it could very well open up things against Kader Kohu. Yes, they have Jalen Ramsey, but it's going to be very interesting to see what Vic Fangio does with a depleted team. This game is so much more important to us than the Miami Dolphins, who have already solidified themselves as in the playoffs. And the other reason here is that Bills Mafia is going to be filling up that Miami Dolphins stadium with 52% of our fans. And that has really been the theme for every single home game in Miami. They're going to be making some changes this offseason, not allowing season ticket holders in Miami Miami to sell their tickets because opposing teams all year long have been filling up that stadium. When you look at this game, the Buffalo Bills have a list of reasons to squish the fish here, where you look at just the injuries on the Miami Dolphins and the health of the Buffalo Bills. When you look at Sean McDermott and how he has progressed this defense with some additions player personnel-wise, Rasul Douglas, Linval Joseph, even Terrell Bernard getting experience, knowing how to play the Miami Dolphins in these rhythm and timing throwers. AJ Epinesa getting his hands up countless times. Even Greg Rousseau and the overall height of Leonard Floyd and other defensive linemen. The confusion in the interior with Ed Oliver and Daquan Jones mixing and matching and stunning and sending blitzes, and even the corners coming in on blitzes. Len, you consider the Buffalo Bills and Bills Mafia traveling so well to Miami, all the snowbirds that live down there, and just an easy flight to get away from the cold. We're going to be loud, we're going to be relentless, and get ready, Miami Dolphins. This game means so much more to us. The lack of height from Tua really disrupts things, especially when you have a 6'5", 6'6" defensive end in your face with his hands up, jumping in the air. How is Tua going to get the ball around him? I know they have a lot of speed with Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, but they are definitely dealing some injuries on the offensive side of the ball. But I appreciate you guys all so much. This season has been absolutely incredible. I will be live during the game. I hope you all consider to join me. We witness us getting into the playoffs for 6 out of the 7 years under Sean McDermott. But if you want to support me, please consider hitting like, subscribe for future content. I see that 80% of you that watch my videos are actually not subscribed. So just check the button down there. Make sure you're subscribed. It'd really mean the world to me. We're going to witness greatness today, Bills Mafia. Get hyped up. Chin straps are buckled. We're ready to go. Appreciate you, and go Bills.